Hello, my fellow animal lovers. How are you today? Before I ferry you to dreamland, if you love the content and you love animals, I want you to support the channel by subscribing. By the way, tell us where you are in the world. What time is it over there? I look forward to reading all your comments. Get comfortable. Your story is about to begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The air grows warm. The world changes. It does not announce its change with a loud voice. It does not send a sudden signal. It simply changes, slowly, gently, in ways that are felt more than seen. For the snail, the world is not a collection of separate things. It is not a sky above and an earth below. It is one single continuous feeling, a world perceived not just with eyes or tentacles, but with the entire surface of its soft and sensitive body. The skin itself is an eye. The skin itself is an ear to the world's quietest whispers, and the whisper has begun to change. The message is one of warmth, a warmth that is not like the gentle kiss of a spring morning. This is a different kind of warmth. It is a weight, a slow, heavy pressure that sinks down from the vast, bright emptiness above. It is a heat that does not just touch the shell, but seems to seep into the very heart of its calcium spirals, into the cool, damp secret of the life within. The light has changed, too. The snail has eyes, small and simple, at the ends of its longer feelers. They are like two dark beads, gathering the shape of the world in soft, unfocused impressions. But the snail also sees with its whole body. There are cells scattered across its skin that can sense the difference between light and shadow. They feel the world brighten and dim, and now the light is brighter for longer. The shadows, once long and cool and deep, are shrinking. They pull back for hours at a time, leaving the world exposed to the growing warmth. A shadow falling across the snail's path is a moment of relief, a brief, cool blessing. It is a natural reflex to pause in this coolness, a deep and ancient knowledge that a shadow is a safe place, a place of rest. But these moments of safety are becoming shorter. The sun climbs higher, its journey across the sky, a long, slow arc of growing power. The ground itself is changing. The snail's world is a world of texture and moisture. Its single muscular foot glides over the earth on a self-made river of mucus, a silvery path that eases its way over grit and stone. This movement, this gentle gliding, is only possible when the world is damp. Moisture is the key that unlocks the world, allowing for travel, for exploration, for the slow and steady search for food. But the moisture is leaving. The air, once soft and full of water, is growing thin and thirsty. It pulls the dampness from the soil, from the undersides of leaves, from the very body of the snail itself. This is the great challenge of a terrestrial life, the constant quiet threat of desiccation. The ground becomes a more difficult terrain. The soft, yielding mud grows firm. The damp leaf litter becomes brittle and dry, rustling with a new sharp sound. Each movement requires more effort, a greater gift of the body's precious water. The silvery slime trail, once laid down with ease, now feels like a costly expenditure. The air itself is a thief, stealing the moisture that is life. This is the signal. Not one signal, but many, all woven together into a single undeniable truth. The heat of the sun, the brightness of the light, the thirst of the air, the dryness of the ground, these are not separate events to be analyzed or considered. They are a single holistic sensation, a change in the very nature of being. The world outside is changing, and so the world inside must change in response. It is not a decision. It is not a choice made in a moment of panic. It is a slow, deep, and ancient yielding, a surrender to the rhythm of the seasons, a rhythm that has been turning for millions of years. The time for journeying is ending. The time for feasting on soft green leaves and fallen petals is passing. The world is sending a new invitation, an invitation not to move, but to be still, an invitation to turn inward, to find a safe place, and to wait. The snail feels this call not as a thought, but as a deep physical pull, a gradual slowing, a turning away from the bright, hot, demanding world. The great summer sleep, the long stillness of estivation is coming, and the snail, in its own slow and quiet way, begins to prepare. It does not hurry. There is no urgency. There is only the slow, certain knowledge that the time has come to retreat, to rest, and to wait for the world to become soft and wet and welcoming once more. The change is not a threat. It is simply the way of things, a great slow turning of the world, and the snail turns with it, a tiny, perfect part of the ancient dance. Chapter 2: The Slowing of the Inner Tide. Before the body can find its place of rest in the outer world, a great stillness must begin in the inner world. A profound and mysterious change is underway, deep within the snail's soft tissues, in the quiet, hidden spaces of its being. It is a process known as hypometabolism, a slowing of life itself. But for the snail, it is not a scientific term. It is a feeling of a great slow tide, turning within. The constant, quiet work of being alive begins to soften. The inner fire, the small flame of metabolic energy that turns food into movement and growth, is gently banked. It does not go out. It is simply turned down, conserved, gathered into a single glowing ember that will smolder quietly for weeks or even months. The metabolic rate, the pace of life's inner engine, can drop to less than a third of its normal resting speed. Imagine the hum of a busy room slowly fading, the countless small sounds merging into one deep, resonant silence. This is what is happening inside the snail. The need for food, the gentle urge that drives it to seek out tender leaves and rich soil, simply dissolves. The complex machinery of digestion, the breaking down and building up, comes to a soft, quiet halt. The energy once spent on this constant process is now saved, stored away like precious jewels for the long wait ahead. This is not a state of starvation or deprivation. It is a state of perfect, peaceful efficiency. It is a time of deep and restorative rest, a release from the endless cycle of consumption and wear. The body, freed from its daily labors, can now turn all its quiet attention to the simple, profound task of enduring. This slowing is a carefully orchestrated event, a symphony of cellular whispers. Tiny messengers, molecules that carry instructions, move through the snail's body. They travel through its simple circulatory system, the fluid called hemolymph, which bathes all the internal organs. These messengers speak a language of stillness. To the enzymes that drive chemical reactions, they whisper, "Rest now." To the cells that build new proteins, they murmur, "Be still." The very blueprint of life, the genes themselves, are quieted. The constant reading and transcribing of genetic information is paused, hushed, as if a great library has closed its doors for a long and peaceful night. This is a reversible state, a deep and willing dive into dormancy. The snail knows, in a way that is deeper than thought, that it can return from this quiet place. The tide that goes out will one day come back in. As the inner world slows, the snail's experience of the outer world must also transform. Time itself begins to feel different. For a creature whose life is a flurry of internal activity, time is measured in moments, in heartbeats, in the quick processing of sensory information. But as the snail's metabolism slows to a crawl, the very river of time seems to slow with it. The frantic rush of seconds, minutes, and hours, the tyranny of the ticking clock that drives so much of the world, loses all its meaning. The moments begin to blur, to stretch, to melt one into the next. The past is a distant shore, the future an unformed mist. There is only the long, deep, continuous present, the long now of being. The clock inside the snail forgets its counting. The rhythm of day and night, of sun and moon, becomes a single seamless flow. It is a journey into a state where time is elastic, soft, and ultimately irrelevant, a state of being, not of doing. This is the great secret of the snail's stillness. It is not an emptiness, but a fullness of peace, a release from the forward rush of life. The snail is becoming a vessel of pure waiting, its body a temple of quiet. The inner tide has receded, leaving behind a smooth, calm, and silent shore. It is preparing for a sleep so deep that the world will seem to dream itself around it. And in this slowing, in this gentle release, there is a profound sense of safety. The snail is gathering itself, pulling all its life force into its core, becoming a small, dense point of pure potential, waiting for the signal to expand and flow once more. Chapter 3. A Bed of Cool Earth. The inner world is quiet. The outer world calls for a final, slow journey. It is not a long journey, not measured in the way a human might measure distance. It is a journey of inches, a pilgrimage across a miniature landscape. But for the snail, this landscape is a vast and varied world, full of texture, scent, and shadow. It is seeking a sanctuary, a specific place, a perfect microhabitat where it can pass the long, hot days in safety and peace. Its muscular foot, still holding the last of its precious moisture, glides over the forest floor. The world here is a mosaic of sensations. It moves across a patch of bare earth. Perhaps it is a clay soil, slick and smooth under its foot, holding a memory of coolness deep within its density. Or perhaps it is a sandy soil, the tiny gritty particles rolling gently as it passes, a warmer and drier touch. It feels the change in texture, the subtle shifts in the ground that speak of different histories, different compositions. The air at this level, close to the ground, is a world of smells, the sharp, clean scent of pine needles, the rich, dark perfume of decay from a rotting log, a smell that speaks of nutrients and returning to the earth, and everywhere the deep, earthy scent of the soil itself, the smell of dampness and minerals and life underground. It smells the faint, white, thread-like filaments of fungus, the mycelial network that weaves through the soil like a hidden nervous system, breaking down the old to make way for the new. The snail's world is a chemical tapestry, and it reads the air and the ground with its sensitive tentacles, searching for the right combination of signals. It is not lost. It is simply searching for its own specific place, its own here, a place that feels right, a place that feels safe. And then it finds it. A single broad leaf, perhaps from a maple or an oak, lies flat against the ground. It is a roof, a vast green ceiling in the snail's world. It moves towards it, its pace unhurried, its path deliberate. It reaches the edge of the leaf and slides beneath it. The world changes instantly. The weight of the sun is lifted. The bright, demanding light is gone, replaced by a soft, green-filtered twilight. The air here is different. It is still and cool and heavy with moisture, held captive in this small, protected space. The snail has entered a new world, a tiny pocket universe beneath the leaf. It explores this new home. Above it, the underside of the leaf is a landscape in itself. It is not perfectly smooth. It has a texture, perhaps leathery and tough, or maybe soft with a fine downy fuzz. A network of veins stands out in faint relief, a branching pattern like a river system etched into its green surface. These are the channels that once carried water and sugar, the lifeblood of the leaf. Now they are just a beautiful silent architecture. Beneath its foot, The earth is different here. It is cool to the touch, a deep and satisfying coolness that seems to draw the last of the day's heat from its body. The soil is damp, protected from the thirsty air by the leaf's broad canopy. It feels the moisture, a promise of safety, a shield against the great dryness of the summer world. This is the place. This small, dark, cool, damp space is the sanctuary it has been seeking, a space no bigger than a human hand, but for the snail, it is a cathedral of quiet, a deep and silent cave. Here, under the roof of the leaf, on the bed of cool earth, the snail comes to a final rest. It has found its here. It does not need to travel any further. The long journey of the day and of the season is over. It has moved from the large, hot, open world into a small, cool, enclosed one. It has found the perfect place to wait. The sounds of the outer world, the buzz of insects, the rustle of wind, are muffled now, distant and unimportant. The only reality is the coolness of the soil, the green-tinged darkness, and the deep growing stillness within its own spiraled home. It settles its body, a slow final adjustment, and prepares for the next great act of its long sleep, the weaving of the door. Chapter 4. The Weaving of the Pearlescent Door. The snail has found its sanctuary. It is settled in the cool, damp darkness beneath the leaf. Now, the final act of sealing itself away from the world begins. It is a slow and sacred process, an act of creation that comes from the deepest parts of its own being. It is the weaving of the epiphragm, the dry door that will protect it through the long wait. First, there is a slow retreat. The snail's soft body, the living creature itself, begins to withdraw from the world. The tentacles, those sensitive feelers that taste and touch and see the world, retract with a liquid grace, pulling back into the head. The muscular foot, which has carried it on its final journey, draws inward, leaving the damp earth behind. The snail pulls its entire being back, deeper and deeper into the spiraling chambers of its shell, its portable home, its shelly cave. It retreats into the darkness of its own architecture, leaving only a small open doorway to the world it is leaving behind. Then, the magic begins. From a special fold of tissue just inside the opening of the shell, a part of the body called the mantle collar, a thick, glistening liquid begins to emerge. It is a form of mucus, but it is much more than that. It is a substance rich with the snail's own life force. This is not a passive seepage. It is an act of will, a process driven by intense, rhythmic muscular activity from within. A slow, steady pulse pushes the liquid out, a gift from the hidden depths of the snail. This liquid is an alchemical brew. It is not just a simple slime. The snail has been gathering resources from within its own body for this very moment. It has been drawing minerals from its own life fluid, the hemolymph that bathes its organs, and even from the very walls of its shell. It is deconstructing a part of its home to build a door for its home. It summons forth the essential elements of its being: calcium, the building block of its shell; phosphorus, a spark of energy; and iron, the stuff of strength. These are the hidden ingredients that will give the door its power. And here is the most wondrous part of the secret. The liquid mucus does not just contain these minerals in a dissolved form. It carries with it countless microscopic pre-grown crystals of calcite. Imagine a liquid filled with tiny, shimmering, perfectly formed jewels. The snail is not building its door from scratch. It is secreting a fluid mosaic, a pearlescent cement filled with crystals that have been carefully prepared and stored for this purpose. This is why the door can form so quickly, hardening in less than an hour, because the building blocks are already made. It is an act of incredible efficiency and ancient wisdom. The snail works slowly, methodically. The mantle spreads the pearlescent liquid across the entire opening of the shell, the aperture. It is a careful, deliberate painting, sealing the edge of the liquid to the rim of the shell's opening. A perfect circular film now covers the doorway. It is translucent and shimmering, a wet and living barrier between the snail and the world. Now it must wait for the final transformation. The air, even the cool, damp air under the leaf, begins its work. The moisture in the mucus slowly evaporates. As the liquid dries, the tiny suspended crystals of calcite begin to touch. They draw closer and closer, interlocking like the pieces of an intricate puzzle. The fluid membrane begins to stiffen, to harden. The soft, pliable film becomes a tough, rigid disc. The liquid pearl solidifies into a hard, protective shield. The door is now complete. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering, a structure called an epiphragm. It is strong and hard, a barrier against the dry air and even against small predators. It will drastically reduce the loss of the snail's precious body water, allowing it to survive for months in this state of suspended animation. Yet, it is not a perfect seal. In the center of this calcareous door, a tiny, almost invisible hole remains, a minuscule pore that allows for the faintest breath, a slow and minimal exchange of gases with the outside world, just enough to keep the tiny banked ember of life glowing in the darkness. The snail has turned its own substance into a sanctuary. It has woven a door from its own blood and bone. It has sealed itself inside its own quiet world, safe and protected. The alchemy is complete. The long, deep stillness can now truly begin. Chapter 5. The House of Whispering Spirals. Now the snail is truly home. It is enclosed not just by the new pearlescent door it has woven, but by the ancient architecture of its own shell. This is its castle, its cave, its sanctuary, a house it has built and carried with it its entire life, a house that is a perfect record of its own slow, spiraling growth. From the outside, it is a thing of beauty, a lustrous coil of calcium carbonate, swirled with patterns unique to its own being. It is a ship of pearl, resting now in the quiet harbor of the cool earth. But for the snail, it is not an object of beauty. It is the very shape of safety. It is the feeling of being held, of being completely and perfectly enclosed. The shell is a spiral, not just any spiral, but a special magical shape that mathematicians call a logarithmic spiral, a sporta mirabilis, the miraculous spiral. It is a shape that appears again and again in nature, in the swirling arms of a distant galaxy, in the unfurling of a fern, and here, in the humble home of the snail. What makes this spiral so miraculous is its property of self-similarity. As the snail grows, it adds a new, larger chamber to its home, sealing off the old one behind it. Yet, as the spiral widens, its shape remains perfectly constant. Each new turn is simply a larger version of the one before. The first tiny chamber at the very center of the spiral holds the same perfect geometry as the last, widest chamber at the opening. The beginning is reflected in the end. The past is carried, perfectly preserved within the form of the present. The snail has retreated along this spiral path. It has moved backward through the chambers of its own life. Each sealed wall, each septum, is a doorway to a previous time, a dwelling it has outgrown. Now, it rests in the newest and largest room, but the entire history of its life is coiled around it. It is resting in the heart of its own story. It is a journey not just into a physical space, but into the very architecture of its own memory. The script of this journey, the one you are listening to now, is also a spiral. It circles back on itself, revisiting the same calming ideas, the stillness, the quiet, the slow and gentle rhythm of nature. Just as the snail's shell grows outward while retaining its essential form, this story deepens as it spirals, guiding you further and further into a state of peace. You are not just hearing about a snail retreating into its shell, you are being gently guided into a shell like state of mind, a place that is enclosed, safe, and spiraling inward toward a center of deep and profound quiet. There is an old and lovely idea that if you hold a seashell to your ear, you can hear the sound of the ocean, the rushing of the waves, the whisper of the tides. We are told this is just the sound of the blood rushing in our own head, echoed and amplified by the shell's hollow chambers. But perhaps there is a deeper truth to it. Perhaps the shell, shaped so much like the spiral of our own inner ear, is a tool for listening, not just to the ocean outside, but to the ocean within. The snail, sealed in its sunless crypt, its quiet pearlescent room, hears no sounds from the outside world. The wind, the rain, the calls of birds, all are gone. There is only the deep, resonant silence of its own small universe. It is listening now to the slow, steady rhythm of its own being, the faint, muffled beat of its own heart, the deep, quiet hum of its own life force, held in perfect stillness. It has become a world in a shell, a complete and self-contained cosmos of peace. It is waiting in the heart of the spiral, in the deepest chamber of its own quiet house. Chapter 6: The Long Stillness. And so, the great stillness begins, a waiting that is not anxious, a waiting that is not impatient. It is a state of being that is as full and as real as its active life of movement and feeding. It is a different kind of existence, a life lived in the deep, quiet dark. The world outside continues on its course. The sun burns in the sky. The dry wind rustles the leaves. Other creatures scurry and hunt and call to one another. But for the snail, sealed in its fortress of self, this world is a distant rumor. It has no ears in the human sense, but its whole body is sensitive to vibration. It can feel the faint tremors of the world through the cool earth and through the solid wall of its shell, but the sounds are transformed. They are no longer sharp or distinct. The loud, demanding voices of the world are muffled, softened, stripped of their urgency. A footstep nearby is not a sudden crash, but a dull, low thud. The rumble of distant thunder is not a roar, but a deep, slow pulse felt in the very core of its being. The world's symphony has been muted, its chaotic noise filtered into a gentle, rhythmic hum. It is as if the snail is listening to the world from the bottom of a deep, calm ocean, or hearing its voice speak from far beneath the ground, its words muffled by the dust of the earth. The darkness inside the shell is not an emptiness, it is not a void, it is a presence. It is a soft, heavy blanket of quiet. It is a sanctuary that asks for nothing. Here, in this perfect personal darkness, there is no need to perform, no need to search, no need to hide. There are no voices telling it what to do or where to go. It is a hush that lets the soul breathe. It is a stillness that does not push or pull, but simply stretches out into a vast and peaceful space, a space where the snail can just be. This is a state of profound surrender, a letting go of all effort, all striving. The past, with its journeys and its meals, is a story that has been told. The future, with its promise of rain and renewal, is a story that has not yet begun. There is only this moment, this long, deep, unbroken moment of waiting. It is a waiting without hope, in the most peaceful sense of the phrase, not a waiting born of despair, but a waiting that is so full of trust that it has no need for the feeling of hope. It trusts the world. It trusts the cycles. It trusts that the rain will come when it is time for the rain to come. The snail's life has been reduced to its purest essence, a slow, rhythmic pulse, a deeply suppressed heartbeat, so faint it is almost undetectable, a slow, minimal exchange of breath through the tiny pore in its door, Life has become a quiet, internal dance, a slow and steady vibration in the heart of the stillness. This is the gift of estivation. It is an escape into a state of pure being, a state that is protected, non-reactive, and deeply, deeply restful. The snail has become a living embodiment of peace, a small spiraled promise that even when the world outside is harsh and demanding, it is possible to retreat into an inner world of profound and healing quiet. It rests, it waits, it is. Chapter 7. A Whisper of Rain. The stillness deepens. The long, slow sleep continues. The world inside the shell is a universe of quiet, a universe of peace. The memory of the warm air is a distant thought, a story from another lifetime. The sun, a burning weight, is now just a faint and faraway warmth, a gentle pressure on the outer wall of the house. The demanding light is forgotten, replaced by the soft, unchanging twilight of the inner chamber. The inner tide is at its lowest point. The pulse of life is a slow, steady, quiet rhythm, a deep and gentle hum that resonates through the snail's entire being. It is the sound of life, banked to a glowing ember, a fire that warms without consuming. It is the sound of perfect conservation, of energy held in a sacred trust, waiting for the call to be released. The bed of cool earth is a constant comfort, a solid foundation beneath the shell, a source of steady coolness and faint, life-giving moisture. It is an anchor to the world, a reminder of the solid, dependable ground that holds and supports all things. The snail is cradled by the earth, held in a gentle, dark embrace. The pearlescent door holds strong, the shield woven from its own essence, from its own blood and bone, is a perfect seal. It is a testament to the power that can be found within, the power to create safety, the power to build a barrier against a world that asks for too much. The door is a symbol of a quiet and powerful no, a refusal to be depleted, a commitment to self-preservation. The house of whispering spirals is the safest place in the world. Each chamber holds a memory of growth, a testament to a life lived. The snail rests at the heart of its own story, at the center of the miraculous spiral. It is held by the geometry of its own being, a perfect repeating pattern of self that is both its history and its home. The long stillness continues. The waiting is deep and dreamless. Time has dissolved into a single continuous moment of peace. There is no past, there is no future, there is only the quiet, profound, and restful now, a state of pure being, of surrender, of trust, and then a change, not a loud change, not a sudden event. It is a vibration so faint, so subtle, it is almost imperceptible, a slight shift in the deep, muffled hum of the world outside. A new rhythm, impossibly slow and gentle. It is the faintest whisper of rain. The first drops are beginning to fall somewhere far away. They are not a storm, they are a promise, a soft patter on the dry leaves of the forest canopy, a gentle tapping on the thirsty ground. The snail does not stir, it does not need to. This is not a signal to wake, it is a confirmation, a quiet affirmation that its long, patient trust was not misplaced. The cycle is turning. The world is changing once more. The time of heat and dryness is slowly, gently coming to an end. The whisper of rain is a lullaby, a soft and soothing sound that deepens the snail's rest. It knows that the water will come. It will seep into the earth, cooling it, softening it. It will wash the dust from the air. It will make the world new again. But not yet. For now there is only this, the deep, safe quiet of the spiral shell, the cool, steady embrace of the earth, the strong, silent protection of the pearlescent door, and the distant, gentle promise of the rain. The snail waits, and in its waiting, it is perfectly at peace. It drifts deeper and deeper into the stillness, into the great quiet heart of its summer sleep, deeper and deeper, safe and still, and resting